Pierre, welcome to the program.
Yes, good evening, Darren. I'm happy to speak to you again.
Okay, cool. Pierre, could you tell us what today, World Social Justice Day, means to you and your organisation on a Dublin and national and international basis?
Yeah, well, first, it's a day of the United Nations, so it has been marked, or it will be marked all over the world, of course, in some institution of the United Nations. The key organization who is marking the day is the International Labour Organization. And this year, ILO, as people name it, is 100 years old. And it's a very interesting organization who has been fighting and trying to guarantee to all workers around the world the best decent work conditions, and mean also sufficient income or wages. So in a certain way, it's first the day where ILO say that decent work and decent wages create social justice. So that's a little bit the message. And the second message of the ILO today is that we can't expect to build or to have a world at peace if we don't support the progress of social justice. So these are the two key messages you will hear worldwide. So we in Ireland, I know a few organizations have done things today or yesterday, or even Social Justice Ireland is having an event on Friday about what they call a Sustainable Development Index. But basically, a few organizations have marked the day, and we ATD are marking it on for Ireland and in Dublin in two ways. We are promoting a call, an appeal to all citizens of Ireland to in a certain way to volunteer to make the next end poverty plan of the government the best ever. You may say, "Oh, I'm joking," but I'm not. I don't care who is in government. I really want that we have the best anti-poverty plan. So we are calling as ATD that people come forward and say, "Yes, I want the next anti-poverty plan, which is called the National Action Plan for Social Inclusion. I want it to be the best ever, so that people who are suffering from poverty situation can see some changes in their lives." So that's the call, and the call is called "Let's Walk as One to End Poverty," and the website is www.walkasone.ie. So that's a general call to people. Why not today on Social Justice Day add your name on the list of people for whom this National Action Plan for Social Inclusion matter? And we know that the government is preparing it, and it should be released around April, launched around April this year, around Easter. So and the second thing is happening in 1 hour, and it's a kind of creative workshop we are organizing in ATD office in Dublin 1 on Mountjoy Square, 26 Mountjoy Square. Last year we have collected 700 decorated stones which have all a message about human rights and social justice. And we have now these 700 stones. They were used to mark the 10th anniversary of the Human Rights and Poverty Stone in Dublin last year on End Poverty Day, 17th of October. But now we want to create with these 700 stones, we want to create an art piece which could stay in Dublin 1 somewhere. The idea is to have it in a community garden. So tonight we are starting the workshops to create this art piece.
Cool. Talking about your Walk as One campaign, the minister and government kind of responsible for the anti-poverty plan is Regina Ryan, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Regina Doherty.
Oh, Regina
so it's
Doherty,
the Minister for Employment Affairs and Social Protection.
Okay.
In fact, it's a story which is interesting because Ireland has the first anti-poverty plan was a 10-year plan, an anti-poverty strategy, which was adopted in 1997. And then there was a second program from 2007 to 17. I hope I'm not mixing the dates. Anyway, we are now 2 years after the end of the last anti-poverty strategy. So in a certain way, there is a vacuum. For 2 years, Ireland, the Irish government didn't have a plan. Now we really want that the new plan, who is going to be launched probably around Easter, is a new step towards an island without poverty. And you may know that Enda Kenny and the president signed in 2015 a commitment to end poverty in all its forms by 2030. So we really have to have this goal in mind. We have to end poverty in all its forms by 2030. Ireland is committed to it. The minister responsible for this is Richard Burton. It's a little bit strange because he's the Minister for Communication, Climate Action and Environment, but he's also in charge of the plan of the Agenda 2030, in which goal 1 is ending poverty in all its forms by 2030. So yes, it's Regina Doherty, but yes, it is also Richard Burton, and in fact, we really need a cross-governmental, cross-department plan. If really we want a robust plan, everybody should be involved. So it's about education, it's about employment, it's about transport, it's about health, it's about housing. So in a certain way, Regina Doherty and Richard Burton really have the lead, but we need everybody in taking actions to end poverty.
And of course, there's climate change, and it's something big in the news today about biodiversity, about wildlife and animals.
Exactly.
You know.
So this is also, we have to, and again, when we speak about the best plan ever, we need to have a plan which is taking into account these two big other challenges. Well, there are many more probably, but we could say biodiversity is really in danger in Ireland, and we know that climate change is happening everywhere in the world, and Ireland has even if it's a small, has an impact, and is doing poorly in terms of the targets we have with our partners in the European Union. And anyway, climate change, biodiversity, and ending poverty have to go together. And this is the very powerful feature we have in the Agenda 2030, and that's why I was speaking about Richard Burton, because it's about climate justice. How we create a society where we, with the people who are maybe today marginalized because of poverty, we reach together a situation where everybody has a decent life and is able to contribute to the protection of the environment and to make sure we mitigate the climate change.
You could know more about this than me, but I was watching a video on Facebook yesterday from the World Economic Forum. I recommend everyone follow them on Facebook because they're very informative, you know. But they're talking about in China and India, and it could be Bangladesh, maybe other places, but the amount of pollution in the air it's making people die a lot younger, and it's just you can actually see the pollution, and people wear a kind of a mask over their mouth. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, what everybody says who is a little bit informed about what's happening in places where you have high level of pollution is that it's the weakest, the most vulnerable, the people on the lowest income that first are hit by the damages of pollution. The more you are up in the social ladder, the more you will find ways to protect yourself. And you don't have, you're not in a survival mode, and you can think about good ways to move, to find the good place to live and so on, where people who are just struggling to make ends meet, their first priority is not to mitigate the effect of pollution or climate change. So the two issues are really connected. That's why connected. So that's why we really like the concept, or whatever the key message of Mary Robinson, which is let's create processes which are really building climate justice. And we saw it in France recently. You hear I'm French, but I followed a little bit what happened with the Yellow Vest, the movement who, in effect, reacted to the carbon tax. And we could say, does it mean that the people from maybe the lower middle class or the working class is not is now resisting to carbon tax and is not concerned by environment? I don't think so. I just think that in a certain way we have to take into account their struggles, and if we want to be together in front of the climate challenges, we really have to create the context where they feel that they are recognized, that they are not suffering from huge inequalities. They can be part of society, and they are not just struggling to make ends meet. If we don't manage this climate justice, we won't manage to act on climate anyway.
The interview we're doing today, Pierre, will be broadcast on Sunday on Global Solidarity, but today is Wednesday as we're talking now, and we already mentioned biodiversity, but there was today was the first time I saw a lot of news on the Irish social media about biodiversity. And I just think that if you travel around, I don't know if you have an opinion on this, but if you actually travel around Ireland, like most, there are green fields everywhere, and a lot of them aren't even, there's no animals on them. I think the Irish government should be buying land from farmers and growing big kind of forests and having animals like roam free for like a lot more forests and a lot more habitat for animals. You know what I mean? Do you agree with that, yeah?
Well, I'm not a specialist, but what I would say is that if there are challenges, if we take action, for instance, as you say, to create, again, biodiversity, to create spaces in rural areas where you have a big variety of plants, and you make sure there is also biodiversity in terms of animals and insects and everything, I do think we have to think how this could be an opportunity to involve people who may have today difficult access to the job market because of low qualification and so on. And we know that people who may not have gone far in the education system, maybe people who really love animals or love gardening or love other things. So in a certain way, I would really dream that what you just said as a measure is something which is done by local authority or by the government. But it could be done and at the same way, it could be an opportunity to really introduce again people who maybe long-term have been unemployed or without a regular responsibility or role to be active. We really have to be creative, to imaginative, innovative in ways to create action for climate, for the environment, for biodiversity, involving the most vulnerable in our society. I'm also thinking about, for instance, elderly people or people with disability.
Okay, Pierre, to come towards the end of our interview, how can our listeners find out more about your Walk as One campaign and about...
again, it's the Walk as One. It means we have to come together to end poverty. That's why we said Walk as One. But it's very easy. You just go on the website, walkasoneTogether.ie, small letters, and you will find the explanation of the campaign, and you could add your name if you want.